Congressman Trent Kelly from District 1. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. Always great to be on the Gallo show.
Wow. I got to tell you, man, it is just so many moving parts out there. I want to ask you, first of all, about this, your colleague, Chairman Turner, in this, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Chairman Mike Turner. He said, I'm requesting that President Biden declassify all the information regarding this threat. He said on that statement, he said he'd been made aware of a serious national security threat facing the United States, only a matter of time before we are attacked or blown up. I think this was in his ex-post. You know anything else about that?
I know quite a bit. It's something that is urgent, but it is not pressing at this time. I'm trying to, there's very little I can say about it, Paul. Mm-hmm. I'm fully aware of all the situation, and I don't think it's anything we should panic about. I do think it's something that our president and his cabinet should address, and that's about all I can say about that.
All right, I won't ask you about this one, but do you know anything, because there's some information out about a nuclear satellite that Russia has. Are we talking about basically the same thing, or a laser satellite on Russia?
I literally can't talk about any of that. I can't confirm or deny any of that stuff. I can just very broadly talk about basically the same statement that Chairman Turner made, and there's a lot. But again, I don't think there's anything pressing. In my opinion, it is something we should take very seriously. It is something that we should address as a nation as a whole, as lawmakers, and along with the administration who does everything very poorly and too slowly. And that's about all I can say, Paul.
Cindy said yesterday, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith said yesterday there were 9 million. We get these numbers, 8 million, 9 million. I guess after you get over that many, it really doesn't matter. But 9 million illegals in here. Then we had a story this morning, I think it's posted on Fox, that actually with that amount of people in here, if they do try to get them, which they are going to try to get them to vote, some are already voting. We've had some voted in the 2020 election, then it could control 22 seats. In other words, the illegal population of 9 million, conservatively, some of the experts believe it could control 22 seats in the House. That means for generations, the Democrats are going to own the House of Representatives for the most part.
That is absolutely right, and that is why we have to stop the flow at the border. We cannot give citizenship to any of these people who came in illegally. If they want to go back and restart the process at the end of the line, like all the law-abiding people who have immigrated to this nation for years and years, many of them now, but they don't get a head start and they don't get automatic citizenship, and we should not waive any of the laws that they've broken. They need to be sent back to their country of origin. And Biden can fix this with a pen. He can fix this with a pen, and he knows it, and he's trying to deflect blame. But he can right now stop all of these guys. He can shut down the border today under the constitutional authority and the legal authority he has, the statute. He can shut it down today, but he refuses to because that's not what he wants to do.
Well, of course not. And I know you don't have a magic wand, and I'm just asking you this because it's a rhetorical question, but when you start looking at this, how in the world can you do this to change these laws if the House and or Senate, and God forbid both of them, and the president and the executive branch are all in the hands of the Democrats? You can say this to tighten up the restrictions on voting, but even if you've got Trump in the White House, there's not too many laws that are going to make the process all the way through to land on his desk in the Oval Office if they're in control.
They are, and they have created this problem. They're now addressing it because it's politically unfavorable for them. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is these people cannot just claim amnesty when they get to the border. They're going through all these other states, nation states, and they should stop there. If they need asylum, it's not in America. It's the first country they come to that is available in, not America. You don't get to go through 5 states and then say, listen, we want to stay where you are. And like I said, Biden can fix this immediately, but they will not. And so that's why this election is so important that we put people in who are going to do something about stopping the flow of these illegal immigrants.
If you want to believe that people use this, and I think sometimes too much, but this is the most important election we've ever had, I would think this probably could be one of the last elections that we ever have, because we've got 4 more years of this to see exactly what he's done in 3 years. Who knows what it's going to look like for our kids and our grandkids? It's not going to be pretty. Congressman, when you look at that bill that made its way through the Senate with the help of Mitch McConnell, what's your assessment of that, the bill?
I'm assuming you're talking about the Senate spending.
Yeah, the Senate bill, yeah.
Listen, it's like every bill up here. Listen, there are a ton of things in there that we need that are necessary. I mean, the funding to Israel to make sure that Hamas and Iran don't continue to harass and terrorize the people of Israel. There is stuff for our shipbuilding industrial base, submarines specifically, where we have one of the few strategic advantages in the world that we still maintain. So there are a lot of good things in there, Paul, but there are also some bad things in there. And so what we've got to do, and I think it's dead on arrival at the House. I don't think Mike will take it up or Speaker Johnson, but I do think that parts of that will come up, and there are parts in there that should be funded and should be funded well, and there are parts in there that are a non-starter for many people in the House, including me.
Do you think there's going to be some procedures done in the House by some of the more moderate or rhino Republicans that will permit a vote on this?
I don't think so, but I mean, they could do a discharge petition, but it's pretty tough because even that's going to be difficult because it's a non-starter with some of the Democrats. The people like Tlaib and some of those folks, they're not going to give money to fund Israel. So it makes it difficult without splitting it up. There's just too much divisiveness across the whole spectrum of everywhere that this money is going.
I noticed
it's paid for, Paul. It's got to be paid for somehow.
I noticed also there was this one little clause in there that would, if Trump is the winner in the next go-round, he could be impeached for the Ukrainian dollars, even if the way it sounded to me in this clause, and I think you know which one I'm talking about, is the way he had it written in there. If he stopped funding to Ukraine, let's say 6 months or a year, whatever it happened to be, even if Russia won, then he's going to be in violation of this agreement.
Well, I personally haven't read that. I don't know. If that's in there, I definitely would not vote for that. But I've not seen that, Paul, so I'm not going to comment on whether. I could just tell you that would be crazy. If we want to fund Ukraine, we need to fund them on the merits of funding Ukraine. Is there a need to fund Ukraine? Absolutely. And weapon systems and those things, because Putin is bad. I want people to understand he is not a good person. He does not have the world's best interest. And I'm going to tell you, if we allow this guy to continue to go rogue, he's gonna not stop at Ukraine. Who's next and what's next? So I think but they have to do that on their own merits, not on some pie-in-the-sky wish list.
Yeah. With your military background, are you not worried a little bit about how thin we are now by being involved in the Ukrainian situation and also the Hamas situation with Israel?
Well, that's a funding thing. So the only concerns that I have is the funding and munitions. Much of this money in the supplemental, just so people understand, is not going to Ukraine or not going to Israel. It is that stuff's already gone. They've already been sending munitions, and it's to replenish those munitions in our stockpiles here in the U.S. So that part I'm very concerned about is making sure that we have, and we do right now, but making sure that we have ample munitions to do the things that we need to do to defend our great nation.
I saw something a few minutes ago that Iran has basically said they own. Was it Antarctica now? And they're claiming they're claiming it. I didn't know they could do that, but you may not have gotten that bulletin. But apparently they say that they own it.
They don't. But our current commander-in-chief will do what he's done on the last 4 or 5 crises, and he would say, don't do that. And that's so effective. It's not worked in any of the last 5, and I doubt that it will work now. So
I know you. I got to ask you this:
we need a new president. That's the main thing, Paul. We've got to have a new president.